move on and get to our first corporate conversation. Triveni Engineering is on the radar. The company saw a revenue decline of almost 8%, as well as a 7% decline in profits if you're looking at results on a year-on-year basis. The sugar segment saw a revenue decline of about 9%. Some of the other segments, of course, were quite okay. Let's talk about the company's performance. We have Tarun Sawhney, Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Triveni Engineering with us. Tarun, thank you so much for taking this call. You know, we have to talk about sugar, distillery, all of that. But that one other announcement really caught my eye in the result release, and that is you getting into a completely new business, which is IMFL. So let me actually just start by understanding the rationale, whether you'll do it through a step-down subsidiary, how much will you sort of spend on it? Just give us the whole plan and also the timelines here.
Sure. Firstly, great to be on your show. The entry into IMFL isn't something totally out of left field. We have a fairly large Indian liquor business, a country liquor business, which was established almost 3 years ago and is a profitable part of our enterprise. And we also have a large brands business, the branding of sugar and some other products as well. And therefore, this is really an extension of that B2C place. The board has considered in allowing the company to invest 25 crores in the creation of a new bottling facility for IMFL, all of these factors. This facility will be operational at the end of Q1/25, so just in a few months' time.
So 25 crores is how much you're putting in. Is there a roadmap? I mean, will this business require more capital? I mean, if you talk about next fiscal, so can you give us some more color on how much more cash will be, set aside, and how much will be sort of, from your internal accruals? Just update us on the cash positions as well in the company.
So, the entry into this business is not going to require a tremendous amount of cash. Of course, there will be demands on operating cash flows. The capexes are very small because we already have a very large alcochemical facility where this project will be implemented. But the operational cash flows, of course, will require some investment, all of it coming from internal accruals. As far as our launch is concerned, I think we're looking at it quite aggressively in the state of Uttar Pradesh to start with, and then expanding outwards from here.
It's interesting that, your core business, sugar, is now just something that we speak about in the third or fourth question that we ask you, because there are so many other diversions that you're doing, and you are adding to your earnings through that as well. I'm looking at the power segment now. You've taken, a project enhancement in your capacity from 250 crores to about 400 crores. What does that do to your power business numbers? What are you looking at? Because this time around, your quarterly run rate is close to around 70 crores on the revenue, close to 25, 26 crores on the EBIT front. Where does this business scale up from here?
Excellent question. I think we have enormous hope as far as our power transmission business is concerned. And the expansion of capacity previously by the board was up to a capacity of 400 crores. In fact, the recent capex that has been approved yesterday takes our capacities in excess of 500 crores. Now, we're looking at hitting on, and there's a brand new facility as well that will be commissioned by the end of this calendar year. As a result, we're looking at fairly aggressive growth rates within our power transmission business to be able to really look at utilization of the new facility and of the existing facility in its expanded format. The growth is primarily through exports, and we're looking quite. We've gotten a lot of support from our global customers within the engineering space. This could be turbines, pumps, blowers, etc. All of our OEMs are looking at support from Triveni for their international and global manufacturing units. And we're
at
very
optimal
utilizations,
at optimal utilizations of your existing capacity and the new capacity that you're proposing, what does the revenue look like?
So the revenue from this facility, we're hoping to achieve a revenue of that maximum 400 to 500 crores in a few years' time, and which is why we're expanding it so aggressively.
Okay, Tarun, I have the same question for the IMFL business, just kind of, dialing back a bit before we move to sugar, and we will talk sugar and distillery as well. But just give us some sense in terms of revenue potential and the scale up. say FY25, what is the revenue you see from the IMFL business, and what's the scale-up plan? We're trying to understand the top-line mix at the consolidated level for the company, say 1 or 2 years down the line.
Absolutely. So, this is the first year for us. So, and it's a new business, as you will appreciate. We have some experience in the Indian-made Indian liquor business, but IMFL is a completely different, from a sales perspective and a marketing perspective, a different play. As far as we're concerned, we're taking a very considered approach. So in the first year of operations, or rather in the first few years of operations, our singular focus is in terms of gaining profitability as quickly as possible, and to look at utilizing all of our marketing rupees in terms of delivering that profitability in the shortest possible period of time. From a revenue perspective and an overall perspective, I think this will be a smaller business as far as the Triveni portfolio is concerned, without sort of disclosing any numbers.
Okay, sure. Well, Indian homegrown IMFL brands are really ruling the roost these days. So who's to say sky's the limit? But anyway, let's come back to bread and butter, or let's say, the sugar and sweet business right now. And tell us what's happened here, because there is this decline in the revenue. What is the outlook? And just explain to us how the impact has been as, juice and the heavy molasses. I mean, there was that, the incentive that was taken away and it was given to, I think, some of the other categories. So what's the impact been and what's the outlook?
Sure. So, two parts of the business, there's sugar and there's ethanol. As far as the sugar business is concerned, while the revenues came in a little bit lower when we look at quarter on quarter or 9 months on 9 months, this was primarily due to the releases that we receive. As you're well aware, the central government releases a monthly quota. And so as a consequence, the revenues were a little bit lower. But the EBIT, as you got up on your screen, was higher. And that's because the sugar prices year on year were certainly higher. The profitability of the sugar business was certainly higher. I would like to mention that the sugar season is underway. And in Uttar Pradesh, and especially for Triveni Engineering, we, if we look at the quarter under review, we've produced 11% higher sugar as a company year on year. And I think that's very encouraging for the efforts that we've made in development, in working with our farmers, etc. So in a scenario where the country is producing lower sugar, we're seeing certainly higher quantums of sugar being produced at Triveni Engineering. Consequently, on the ethanol side, which is an important factor, we've seen some amount of movement and some amount of government policy in terms of limiting the quantum of diversion of sugar towards the ethanol manufacture and the EBP program. As a result, there have been quite a few impacts. The first one, of course, has been that the quantum of ethanol that's being manufactured from sugar as an input is certainly lower. So that does, of course, impact us a little negatively. However, our distilleries are multi-feed distilleries, so we will look at maize and damaged food grains as raw materials for those plants. But those are subject to, of course, open market prices, and prices of maize, despite the increase, actually in line with the increase incentive of the government, have risen. So they've risen in the last 6 months from, say, 19 rupees per kilo to almost 24 to 25 rupees per kilo. So there has been margin erosion, unfortunately, as far as grain as a feedstock for the ethanol business. But I think the commitment by the government, the commitment by the sector and the industry in terms of delivering ethanol blending at 20% by 25-26 stands just as firm. And we stand steadfast in terms of supporting the government in that endeavor.
Any word from the government on the change in prices for B-heavy and juice molasses as well?
Well, there hasn't been any change in prices for B-heavy. So the B-heavy prices have not been increased this year as yet. My hope is that they will be increased because cane prices have increased. Yes. And therefore, there is an argument to be made that the central government should consider an increase in ethanol that is manufactured from B-heavy and from juice. As a matter of fact. But that has not happened as yet. Perhaps that is something that we can expect over the next few months, and we can expect the government to consider that sooner rather than later.
Just to complete that point, the distillery revenue this quarter was close to around 550 crores. What is an expected quarterly run rate for you, given your capacity and the fact that it's multi-feed?
So I think in the quarter under review, the revenues were slightly lower. They were lower because we had to change our feedstocks multiple times, etc. And that was one of the major factors in terms of a slightly lower output. Going forward, I think we will return to our more normalized rates of approximately 650 odd crores. Having said that, we have a brand new distillery that will be commissioned in March in 2 months' time, at the end of this quarter as well. That will add to our revenues starting the first quarter of the next fiscal year.
All right, Tarun, we'll leave it on that note for today. Thank you very much. Good speaking with you. And thanks for all the updates on the various business aspects over there. That's Triveni Engineering. Stocks doing well. So is the market, by the way, 150 points up and counting on the Nifty. We will take a break on that note, come back.